Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about the three major counties that make up the Tampa-St. Pete region. And I really wanted to break it down a little bit because each county has something to offer that's very different from the other. And there are some pros and cons with each. And so I thought it might be a little bit easier for you if you're looking at the Tampa-St. Pete region and trying to figure out where to land. And I'm hoping in this video it will be informative enough to help you kind of figure out where to land county-wise as well as neighborhood-wise. So this is going to probably end up being a bigger series. I'm going to break down neighborhoods based on counties. And so don't forget, stay till the end. I'd really like to hear your thoughts on neighborhoods per county that you'd like me to maybe do some videos on. So if you're very interested in Pasco County, let me know neighborhoods there, and Pinellas and Hillsborough, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And don't forget, if you need any real estate help and you need help navigating our real estate market here in the St. Pete region, I'm your girl. I'd love to hear from you. All my information's below. And so I really felt like it was important to break down these three counties that make up the Tampa-St. Pete region because they can have varying degrees of options for you if you're a single professional or if you have a family. Also about home prices and taxes, and they can vary greatly. So it's really important that you kind of know what you're getting into with each county. Okay, so the three major counties that we're going to focus on in this video are going to be Pasco County, which is the northernmost county that runs east and west. And then we're going to focus on Pinellas County, which is west and runs south. And then we're going to talk about the main county that makes up Tampa Bay, which is Hillsborough County, which is of course starts in Tampa proper and it heads east and southeast and a little bit north. So we're going to break it all down in a map. Don't worry, we're going to throw that up here for you so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's start with Pasco County. As I mentioned, it's the northernmost county that runs east and west. And so some of the cities that make up Pasco County, I'm not going to mention all of them, but the biggest ones are Newport Richey, Holiday, Trinity, Odessa, Land O'Lakes, Dade City, Wesley Chapel, and Zephyr Hills. Not to mention there's a bunch more that are in there, but those are basically your main cities. It's known for its suburban feel. It's very rural, quiet, spread out, less densely populated, which appeals to some people for sure. And it only has about 500,000 people so far. Most of the people that live in Pasco County that I know, they really love nature. And so that's why they kind of wanted to move out of the city and get away from the more densely populated communities and counties, and we're going to talk about those. So it has a lot more to offer in the nature aspect of things, right? So if that's your jam. I'm over here today in Pinellas County at John Crestnut Park. It's really hot, lots of bugs. I failed as a Floridian and I did not bring my sunscreen, so I had to get under one of these shady areas to talk to you today. Let's dive into some of the pros in Pasco County and get refocused because I'll be talking about Pinellas County in a minute. All right, so some of the pros of Pasco County are lots of agriculture. It's definitely a pro for the people that live here. Again, as I mentioned, you've got lots of cow country over here. Now, what's interesting, this area used to be primarily all cow country. So you drive down 54 and you would see cow pasture, cow pasture, cow pasture. Now you drive down 54 and you see cow pasture, strip mall, cow pasture, strip mall. So things are shifting and changing. There are a lot more little nugget communities, and we're going to dive into that in future videos when I talk about Pasco County and diving into the neighborhoods there. But I have a really cute story I wanted to tell you. I was talking to my girlfriend who lives in Trinity and asking her opinion on Pasco County, and she really loves it here, and she raised her children in Pasco. And she said during September, October, when it's pumpkin season, there's a church right across the street from a cow pasture, and they sell, she said, some of the biggest pumpkins she's ever seen. And what's really cool is at the end of that season, when all the pumpkins, the pumpkins that get left behind that start to rot, they just take them across the street and throw them over the fence and give them to the cows. So I thought that was kind of cool. Country living in Florida, who knew it? Home prices. Okay. Pasco County is really popular because it is one of the areas that's less expensive than some of the other areas that I'm going to talk about. Now, you're going to probably get a little bit more land. Potentially, you can have an acre if you want. A lot of times, you're going to have a pool. There are definitely communities around here that are more like subdivisions, so all the houses kind of look the same, and most of them have pools and cages. But then there are some parts and some neighborhoods that, as we go along in future videos, I'll show you, and I've got some already on my channel, like some areas in Newport Richey that aren't so savory, but then there's some really cute parts of Newport Richey, and so on and so forth. So it just depends on which part of the county you want to land in. But as far as home prices, you're probably going to get a better deal in Pasco. And my third pro is that you've got a lot of nature preserves. Pasco County has a ton of bike trails, hiking trails. You've got the Suncoast Trail, and I do believe that it connects with the Pinellas Trail. So we have a lot of green space around here. A lot of times houses will butt up against a preserve, and so you have a lot more of that nature feel. So I think what's the cool thing about all three of these counties, depending on if you're a water person or you're a nature person, you have some options. My girlfriend that I was talking about that lives in Trinity, she doesn't care about the beach. She rarely goes to the beach. She wants to look at green space. And so if that's you, you need to think about Pasco County as putting that on your list. Okay, so let's dive into some of the cons. One of which is going to be your commute time. So yes, it's great to be out away from everybody, but if you have to commute into downtown Tampa, off-peak hours, it's going to take you a minimum of 40 minutes. So you have to keep that in mind. If you're a commuter, you really need to map that out, especially if you work in the Pinellas County area. That's even going to add more time to your commute. Not everybody is a remote worker, so I understand that, and there's different parts of town where you can get a job, hopefully. We're going to talk about that. So you have to really consider that when you're looking to purchase a home. You want to make sure that you've factored in your commute time. Another con is there's just not a lot of nightlife and entertainment up here. It's, again, you're in the burbs. You're really in the burbs. Like, you've got the strip malls, like I mentioned. You've got the Targets and the Walmarts and the Home Depots and that sort of thing. And you're going to have those little restaurants and maybe a pub in the strip malls. But as far as, you know, a really happening nightlife, there is nothing to do up here. Maybe a movie theater. I have some clients that live in Odessa, and they're dying to get out of Odessa because Odessa is just east of Trinity, if you're thinking about it on a map. And so there's just very rural over there as well. So they're a little bit younger. They want to be closer to more activities. So if you feel like that's who you are, you need to stay away from Pasco. Because here's the other thing. If you like high-end shopping, or if you like that really nice expensive meal on a weekend night, I most certainly love that myself. You're going to have to find that either in downtown Tampa or in South Tampa or over in the Channel District. You're not going to find that up in Pasco County. If anybody on here that's watching this has a really nice restaurant they can recommend in Pasco, let's put that in the comments. I think we'd all like to hear about it. And con number 3 is that you're really far from the beach. So even if you look on a map and you look where Trinity is located, the closest beach to Trinity is Fred Howard Park, and that's not even really considered a beach. So it has a beach, but it was man-made to access the water. So I wouldn't consider Fred Howard Park one of the main beaches, but if you like water activity and you want to have a little sand between your toes, Fred Howard Park is 30 minutes from Trinity. And on the map, it looks like it's a lot closer. So if you're a beach person, I'm not so sure Pasco's for you, because if you live in Wesley Chapel or Zephyr Hills, you're going to be looking at an hour to hour and a half commute even to any of the major beaches like Clearwater or even St. Pete Beach. My last con, which was actually a pro, is the new developments, is these master plan communities. A lot of people are not happy about all of the development happening in this area. And rightfully so. You want to leave the city. You don't want the city to come to you. It's going to take a while before I see Pasco really becoming like a Pinellas County. But again, a lot of people don't want all of those master plan communities coming in here and taking away all of their agriculture. So that's a con. Okay, so let's move on to county number 2, which is Pinellas County. Okay, so Pinellas County is west of Tampa and all the way south down to Fort DeSoto. So there's some cities obviously within this county that I really want to talk about. There's a ton of cities, but I'm just going to break it down to the major ones that I think people are going to be most interested in. And they are Tarpon Springs, which is at the very top of the county. And as you're moving down, you've got Palm Harbor, St. Pete, Clearwater, Largo, Dunedin, Oldsmar, Safety Harbor, Gulfport, and of course, all of the coastal beaches on the west coast of Pinellas County, which starts at Tarpon and heads all the way down, like I mentioned, to Fort DeSoto, just to give you a little reference. Now in Pinellas County, there's a lot to talk about because it's a very densely populated area. It's about to hit 1 million people. That means there's 3,500 people per square mile. So you are right next to each other, right? And as some of you may know, if you follow my videos, I do a lot of videos on St. Pete in particular, and I talk about all the fun things to do in that area, and we're gonna dive into that a little bit here in a second. I do think that Pinellas has a ton to do, especially comparing it to Pasco. You've got everything from arts and culture, water sports, sporting events, great restaurants, a plethora of things to do. So let's dive into some of the pros of Pinellas County, because I've personally got a lot of pros and I got a lot of cons. So I had to narrow down this list, and I'm sure you've got your own sets of pros and cons. So again, use that comment section. I want to hear from you. Okay, I kind of got ahead of myself, but my first pro, of course, is the arts and entertainment and culture and restaurants. Oh my, okay? So not just in St. Pete do you have all these wonderful, places to eat, and you've got the pier, which, is one of my favorite places to hang out. You've also got, Clearwater, which has Coachman Park. Largo's starting to get a revamp. There is a ton to do in Pinellas County. That county in particular is very involved with their communities individually, and so they're all trying to kind of get this resurgence going because that county has been notoriously older. It was always a retiree county, and so you're starting to see things shift and change over there, and it's really a lot of fun, especially areas that are my favorite are going to downtown Safety Harbor. Again, you're on the harbor there. You have the bay water, you have a marina, lots of fun things to do, great restaurants. Dunedin has a little downtown. So different from Pasco. Pasco doesn't have a cute little quaint downtown yet, but Pinellas has several downtowns. You've got downtown St. Pete, downtown Dunedin, downtown Safety Harbor, and I'm sure a lot more. There's never a boring moment in Pinellas County as far as I'm concerned. All right, I gotta move on. So pro number 2, education. Pinellas County School District is one of the best school districts we have in Florida, which I did not know. I don't have kids, so I did talk to my friends a little bit about this. I know that Clearwater has some really great schools. I know my sister went to school in Palm Harbor. I think that's the countryside schools over there. They are really taking the education in Florida seriously. That's been sort of becoming a part of the county's revamping process because, Florida has a bad reputation for schools. And so I can see that they're starting to turn things around. We're going to talk about more schools on the Hillsborough side because I got more to say about that. But it's good for you to know that the Pinellas County area has some really good schools. Okay, this was an interesting thing I discovered. So I know that one of my pros here, I'm getting ahead of myself yet again. Transportation. Okay, Pinellas County has great public transportation, but I was doing a little research and I found with doing my research, there's something really great that Pinellas has started, and it's called the Advantage Pinellas Long Range Transportation Plan, and it includes projects like the Sunrunner, which is already up and running. It goes from downtown St. Pete all the way to the beaches, and it's an e-bus, an electric bus. The Gateway Expressway, not sure what that is yet, and obviously the Pinellas Trail Loop that they're creating. Now, Advantage Pinellas is a strategic plan to improve mobility and economic opportunities county-wide. The plan identifies the major transportation needs for their communities and enables them to receive critical funding in the future. It's a pretty cool initiative, and I think what I'm going to do is drop the link below that if that interests you, if you're somebody that's really interested in public transportation and being in a little city that has that, they've got tons more that they're doing, not just transportation. But I believe this is going to significantly set Pinellas County above all the other counties with this initiative. And I really think some of the other counties could take a little, lesson from Pinellas. They're doing a great job. All right. And my last pro, because I would get killed as a Floridian if I didn't mention it, of course, is our beaches. Pinellas County has some of the most amazing beaches in the country. Some of them are well-renowned. They're on top lists of TripAdvisor and everything. And it's not just one beach. All of our beaches are beautiful. It's also obviously a big draw for our tourists and for all of those that love water like me. I mean, I am a water baby. I grew up here. We lived on Bel Air Beach. I still have wonderful memories of being on that beach as a kid. So if you're a beach person, Pinellas County is probably where you're gonna wanna be. So let's talk about some of the top beaches, okay? And a lot of them you probably already know. We're gonna list them here for you anyway. There's Indian Rocks Beach, Indian Shores, Madeira Beach, Reddington Shores, St. Pete Beach, and the list goes on all the way down to Fort DeSoto. Really, honestly, you can't beat the beaches in the Pinellas County area. I also love, which I didn't mention, is Honeymoon Island because that's closest to my neighborhood. It's about a 30-minute drive for me. And, you know, again, discover the beaches on your own, but I really think that is a draw to the Pinellas County area. All right, now we got to take the good with the bad, right? Or the bad with the good, I should say. Let's go to the cons of Pinellas County. All right, con number one is, I think, pretty obvious. It's crowded. And you can expect that with a densely populated county such as Pinellas. I mean, you've got almost 1 million people in a very small community, right? And also, we basically have tourist season 8 months out of the year. So it's not only the people that live in Pinellas County, now you're bringing in all the tourists, and it can get crowded, especially along the coastline when people are trying to go to the beach, and there's just not a lot of infrastructure to get into the beach areas. The parking's crappy, all of that, right? So that can be a pain in the butt. Okay, con number two, as I like to say, you gotta pay to play. So if you wanna be in Pinellas County, you're gonna pay for it. So higher cost of living, higher home prices, higher taxes, you've got to consider flood insurance, all of that. Being close to one of the most sought after counties, being close to the beaches, it's just the way that it works. Everybody wants to live over there, and trust me, being an active real estate agent in the market, and I've sold a lot over in Pinellas, I can tell you that people will spend a lot of money on a little house, and that's what you get in Pinellas. You get little houses. And they're those old Florida bungalow homes, the majority of them. You're starting to see now a lot of them getting revamped. You could end up paying the same amount for a house in Pinellas County that's smaller with less acreage. So a house in Pinellas County could be $500,000 and it could be maybe a 2-2, maybe 1,000 square feet. You could get a house in Pasco County for $500,000, a 3-2 with a pool, and maybe a half an acre. So you see the comparison. So again, you pay to play. You want to be near the beach, you're going to pay. But don't forget, there's certain things you're going to have to look out for, and we're going to talk about that next. Con number three, flooding. Pinellas County is in a higher flood area. You can check the FEMA map for flood zones. Not every area is a flood area, but you're going to obviously anything near the water. So on the west coast of Pinellas and on the east coast of Pinellas on the St. Pete side, those are going to be high flood areas. And then as you go more inland, it's less likely to flood. But it also depends on the elevation of the house. But also, I want everybody to take the flooding situation with a grain of salt. The whole state of Florida could flood. We are basically a floating little island, barely hanging on by a thread to the rest of the country. So we're surrounded by water. What do you expect? So don't be afraid of flooding. It's a natural phenomenon. We just had a tropical storm and my little area flooded a little bit. It receded back, and then we had rain yesterday that flooded it again. And these were not even any storms that were on anybody's radar, right? It wasn't on the national news. So we are used to having storms, especially during the summertime, where we're gonna have a lot of rain water, and that's gonna bring some flooding. But don't worry so much, because I can help you navigate flood insurance, elevation, that sort of thing. So just reach out to me and I can help you with all of that. If Pinellas is really where you want to be, we'll make it happen. Last but not least, it's a hot button with everybody. My con number 4 is insurance. So you're bookended by water, it's gonna flood, and you're in older houses, it could potentially flood. Now, things are changing and shifting, thank God, right? There's a lot of renovating going on, and people are elevating houses and things like that. And FEMA changed the flood map, so there are some areas now that don't have such strong flooding restrictions within Pinellas County. So you just have to check that map, right? And then obviously I can help you. But there's a talk about rate hikes from Citizens Insurance. So Citizens is one of the biggest insurance agencies in Florida. And yes, there's been some controversy about other insurance agencies leaving. There was like one, I think, that left. It was Farmers or State Farm or something. Don't worry about it. I've got a local guy. I always say if you're looking in Pinellas County, let's engage with an insurance company and let's start getting some quotes, okay? So that's number one. But Citizens is talking about, so as I mentioned, Citizens Insurance is one of the leading insurance companies in Florida, and it's been stated that rates could go up as much as 14% in 2025. And it's because there's a lack of competition, right? So it's important when you're looking at a home in Pinellas County, and if you're working with me, we talk about insurance from the get-go. We're gonna check the elevation of the home. We're gonna check the age of the roof. We're gonna check how old is the plumbing, how old is the electric, is the AC running efficiently, and does it still have some life left to it, right? Those are also called 4-point issues that we have to have in order for you to get insurance. So those are the big things we look for when we're looking at older houses that might be in flood zones, okay? Also foundation issues, that's been coming up a lot lately too. People are concerned about that. Guys, Florida's built on sand. Things are gonna shift. It doesn't necessarily mean every house is sitting on a sinkhole, okay? And that stuff has to be disclosed. So when we're looking at properties, we are looking for those disclosures to see if there has been anything like that within the history of the home. So again, just call me and I can help you with that. Okay, I think we've covered all there is. I mean, I could go on and on about Pinellas, but I gotta keep going. We got one more county to cover. And so my last county, my county I grew up in, Hillsborough County. So Hillsborough County is gonna start basically in Tampa proper. It goes just a little bit north, right? Butts up against Pasco County. You can head east, go to Plant City, drop down south, so it's southeast going down all the way to Ruskin. So let's talk about some of those cities. And there's a ton, but I'm just gonna talk about some of the ones that I think most people are interested in. Obviously, Tampa, of course, Plant City, Riverview, Brandon, Ruskin, and there's more down that way, but let's go back up to Carrollwood, West Chase, and again, tons of little neighborhoods within there as well. Town and Country, where I live, Citrus Park, and then again, up north, you're gonna be looking at Keystone, Cheval, and so on, right? Hillsborough County is a little bit more spread out, but it's now hit, I think, 1.5 million people. So it's also very densely populated. It's also the 4th most populous county in the state of Florida. It's also known for being very diverse because there's a rich history. Again, the Latin culture that's kind of pretty much started up the Tampa Bay area. So you're gonna see a ton of diversity in Hillsborough County. You're gonna see different types of diversity in Pinellas County, but you're gonna see more of a melting pot, I think, in the Hillsborough County area. It's also the economic core of Tampa Bay, and it has the potential for job growth over the next few years, we hope. I have a lot to say about that. That's gonna be on my cons list. But I do wanna mention, I do believe, listen guys, I feel like Tampa has one of the best airports in the country. I travel a lot, and I also travel with my handicapped mother, and trying to get a handicapped woman in a wheelchair with bags, with a walker, all those things. I've never had a problem at Tampa Airport, and everybody's really, really nice. So tell me your thoughts. Do you like the Tampa Airport? All right, so let's dive into the pros of Hillsborough County. I really feel like the culture and the history of Tampa is really what makes it what it is. I know for myself, growing up in Tampa, I had friends that were multi-generational, right? So one of my girlfriend's family owned a restaurant in town, and again, I think they're 8 or 9 generations of being in Tampa. So that culture, everybody knows everybody is kind of what I'm trying to say. So I can say the name, I'll say Scaglione, because that's her name. And if somebody else has the name Scaglione, I'll go, oh, do you know blah, blah, blah Scaglione? They're like, oh yeah, she's like my 7th cousin. So there's a lot of old families here in Tampa that really created this bedrock of the city. So again, our culture is really rich and the history is really rich. And I think that's really awesome. And if you go to Ybor City, you'll get a taste of that. Number 2, okay, so this, I'm gonna say food and festivals, and I have a feeling some of you are going to get mad at me, but I have some reasoning for that, because overall, Florida needs to upgrade its food. Not Miami, Miami's great, or let's just say Tampa, St. Pete. I came from LA, we got a ton of different kinds of food, lots of healthy options. In Tampa, it's very Latin, Greek, Cuban, Wonderful food. Look, guys, we're known for the Cuban sandwich, okay? If you want to know the best Cuban sandwich, comment below and I'll tell you the place to go. We're also known for Cuban cigars. Again, go to Ybor City and watch them roll them yourself. It's really, really fun. But also, I've noticed some things change in South Tampa, especially the Water Street area and the Channelside district. Some great restaurants going in there. Obviously, and of course, for decades, the only nice steakhouse we had was Burns Steakhouse in South Tampa. But now we've got a ton of options, but most of them I would have to say are probably in South Tampa, downtown, and Channelside, and all those areas that I mentioned. Oh, and along the Riverwalk. We've got some great restaurants down there as well. Festivals. Okay, I love our festivals. So we're pretty well known for Gasparilla. Gasparilla's been around for decades upon decades. I actually marched in that parade in high school. And we also have things like the Cuban Sandwich Festival, of course. We've got the Strawberry Festival, which is also one of my favorite festivals as a kid. That's out in Plant City, where all the strawberries grow. And then there's the Tampa Greek Festival, and there's a ton more. But we really love festivals and food. So if you're a foodie, you're gonna have a great time here. And even since I've moved back, I've noticed we have a ton more festivals and concerts going on in the park and that sort of thing. So again, great things to do in Hillsborough County. Okay, for my water people. My pro number 3 is you can get water views of the bay, you can have water activities, and you don't have to be on the Pinellas County side. So if you're someone that really loves to have a sunset view while you're having dinner and a cocktail, there's a ton now. Like I mentioned, they've really ramped up everything along the Riverwalk there. You've got Eulalie, you've got Armature Works, then you can keep on going down the river, and you've got Jackson's. And gosh, there's so many places I could mention. Of course, all the way down to Channelside, you have a ton of water options. And of course, you've got waterfront property. So you can have a water life, in Hillsborough County. You're not necessarily gonna have beaches. Now, there is a secret though. South Tampa has its own beach. Comment below if you want to know what it is. You can probably Google it yourself, but I found it myself. Pretty great. So we do have some little pockets of little beaches here and there, but we just don't like to tell people about it. And my last pro, even though there's a ton more, is the diversity. For me, growing up in Tampa, it was great. Honestly, I grew up with, I had Latin friends, I had Italian friends, I had Cuban friends, whatever, you name it, I was around it. It was really great. So I think because of, the history here, and I just think Tampa is really, it was founded on cultural diversity, and I'm seeing that stay. And I think that's really important for Hillsborough County, even as we get this influx of people from other cities and other cultures. We have to remember we're still a melting pot, and we want to keep it that way. So you have all walks of life in Hillsborough County, which I think is really still pretty cool. As I go into the cons of Hillsborough County, you've got to keep in mind that I grew up here, I'm gonna age myself, but I grew up here in 1981, and I left in 94. And then I came back in 2018. I never thought I'd come back, because I was like, Tampa is the most boring place in the world. And then I came back, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. Okay, so there's some great things about growing up in Tampa that I loved. Some of the best things about Tampa was that its affordability. We're gonna get to that. I know, everybody, hold on, because I've got a lot to say about this. And I like that we now have some of the cool modern amenities that other cities have. A lot has changed for the good, and a lot has changed for the bad. So let's get into it. There's some things I really think the powers that be in Hillsborough County need to fix. And that's household incomes and demographics. I think we are, because of COVID and the onslaught of everybody moving here, it really changed our economic landscape. And one of the main reasons I moved back to Florida was to have a lower cost of living. Well, that has changed. And surprisingly enough, and I have actual real life example to support this, the Bay News 9 published an article that blew my mind, okay? Quote, according to a recent study by Smart Asset, single adults living in Tampa, St. Petersburg, and Orlando, by the way, must have an average salary range of $94,000 to $100,000 to live comfortably. You heard me. Okay, before I continue on, I have a friend of mine who was in Pasco County, a different friend, and she needed to find an apartment. In order to qualify for that apartment, she had to make $93,000. So it supports this article. Because if you Google the median income, and I'm gonna talk about it right here, the numbers are off. So I don't know why they are asking for so much for these apartments. It's crazy to me. In Hillsborough County, the average area median income, that's 80%, for a single person is $48,000. And for a family of 4, that's $69,000. That's the average median income. Let that sink in, okay? And I know I've talked about this on other videos as well, and people chime in, and listen, it's the truth, y'all, okay? And I'm not happy about it either, okay? I don't think it's fair. So we are way off, and things are skyrocketing. And I know those of us that have lived here a long time, you know, I moved back and I've seen the growth, and the growth is great, but nobody is taking into consideration there are people that don't have the kind of income it takes to live here anymore. And I just think that's a shame. I want to point out, because of my age group, I have friends that have young adult children who are having to leave the area after college because they can't afford rent because they're trying to get their first job ever. They're not going to be making $94,000 right out of the gate. How do they live here? Things have to change. Okay, I'm off my soapbox for a hot second. I'm gonna hop on it for con number 2, the job opportunities. Now there's all these articles that say, oh, Tampa, the job market's changing and all these stats, and that's really great, but they're not paying people enough. That's my biggest problem. The salaries in Tampa, St. Pete suck. They say we have a job increase of 1.5%, but where are these jobs? I have people commenting on my channel all the time, can you help me find a job? I don't know how people are finding jobs anymore. I used to be a recruiter. I'm not anymore, so please don't email me, help and find a job. I'm really not the best person to help you. But I really don't know how people are finding jobs, and jobs that can pay them well if you have to go rent an apartment. Not all apartments, and I don't handle apartments, but not all apartments require such a high salary to qualify. But if you know of some inexpensive apartments, please comment below and let's share it with the community, because I just think it's a shame. So I'm really hoping, because I like to be positive, I'm really hoping that, again, the powers that be are gonna hear all of our cries that you need to make things better here in Tampa. Not only affordability, but our salaries have to change. All right, getting off my soapbox. All right, con number 3, very limited public transportation. So how are these people going to get to work? There's not a lot of public transportation in the Hillsborough County area. There's been efforts, and you know, they keep talking about making things better from a transportation standpoint. I still haven't seen it. I'm hoping that'll change, but I think it's just still very limited at this point. So you have to rely on cars, car insurance, and our car insurance is really high because not everybody can afford car insurance. So then if you get in an accident with somebody who's uninsured, it's a mess, right? I mean, don't get me started on car insurance. Like, it'll take me down another rabbit hole. Okay, another con for Hillsborough County is education inequality. Now, I went to school here. I went to high school here, and I'm gonna tell you, there are some great schools and there's some not some great schools. And again, you have to do your own research if you have children that need to be in the school system. I will say that we not only have public schools, we have charter school programs and we have private schools. And the charter school program is another really great alternative, so you might wanna look into that. I always suggest going to greatschools.org or niche.com and doing your own research on schools. But Hillsborough County, you're gonna look on those sites and go, but it's hit or miss. Go check out those schools for yourself. Honestly, guys, I have a lot more pros and cons with my county because I live within it, and I could sit here and bitch forever, but you know, I gotta get on with life, and I'm trying not to be bitten by bugs. But I'm gonna save some of my other cons for my next video, so. If all of this sounds good to you, I really appreciate that you've been hanging out with me and checking out the 3 counties that make up Tampa, St. Petersburg. And don't forget, I'm gonna be doing a series, so I'd really love some feedback. If there's some neighborhoods or some counties you want me to focus on, please comment below. I really wanna dive in deeper into the neighborhoods, and I really need your input. But I think you can see that each of our 3 main counties have something to offer everybody. So again, don't forget, if you need some help navigating that, just give me a call, give me a text, or jump on my calendar and we'll talk. And again, stay tuned for my series as we dive a little bit more deeper into these counties and the neighborhoods within it so that you can understand it a little bit better. And I would love to hear from you in the comments. And until next time, guys, I really appreciate you watching today, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.